Hello and welcome to the Cinema Sitdown powered by Gruvi. My name is Dom and I'm a key account and business development manager here at Gruvi's branch in Perth, Australia. Today I have a very special guest and colleague joining me, Neil Wirasinha, the former head of media at Universal Pictures International. For over 15 years, Neil headed the media team at Universal, supporting the growth of the company worldwide and played an instrumental part in transforming Universal Pictures into a digital-first marketing organization. He currently serves as Gruvi's Chief Operating Officer and he joins me today via online call from London. Neil, I know we've talked a lot off the air and I know you're a very busy man, but thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast.
Dom, it's nice to catch up, talk about things outside of our normal day jobs.
So Neil, you've been in the digital marketing space for some time, but of course, as we both know, nothing stays the same online for very long. And obviously online advertising is only continuing to grow year by year. So I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on digital marketing, specifically with your years of background in a distributor managerial role. So I guess from your perspective, what do you think major film studios look for in digital marketing campaigns and how do they measure the performance of a campaign?
It's a great question. First of all, I've been around the digital marketing space for nearly 2 decades. In fact, it is 2 decades. So I've seen a lot of change from 2003 when I first moved into the marketing space for a movie studio to today has been a huge change. In 2003, we were spending less than a percentage point and spending 7 or 8% in press. And that has obviously shifted a lot over time. Now, to try and give you an idea of where I think things different and how do studios look at digital marketing campaigns, it comes down to, funny enough, location. Different countries do it differently. In the US, if we look at all of the major studios, if that is Universal or Disney or Warner Brothers, they're attached to bigger media organizations. The primary business of those bigger media organizations is still television, right? So the biases of those studios perhaps isn't where the audience is, but it's more where the corporate culture is, that they're channeling a lot more of their marketing spend into TV. And when you're working with a set of folks that are very much focused on television, you can see that they leave lots of gaps from a digital marketing perspective. And I would say that those gaps, they still treat digital in a way as a tactical marketing pillar. And the narratives they have are very much around, well, which TV spot do we have running tonight? i.e., we've got a chance to reach 10 million people. What's the right spot that's going to make a tactical difference and connect the audience to our movie? And because of that nature, the digital side of marketing takes a backseat in the US. Now you roll that into the international market space, and that's where it starts to have a more profound difference. And the why is because TV isn't already a North Star, and in many markets, TV has priced itself out of the market.
But why do you think some are quite reticent still to do a lot of online advertising or still go to the more traditional channels? Do you think part of that is maybe, things in the online space move really quickly? And do you think that maybe always constantly being in a position where you have to change and be ahead of like market patterns and expectations puts a lot more pressure, maybe that they find that, sticking to the more conventional channels is a more reliable, stable way to marketing?
I think there is a lot of anxiety about how quickly it moves, for sure. And I think that, yes, there is, also if we look at movie studios, there isn't, the average age of senior marketers, myself included, would have been around 50, right? The average age of, and this is not to make it ageist at all, but I just want to try and land just some few thoughts about conservatism and if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it type thing. And then if you look at the average age of perhaps maybe the digital teams and some of the more creative teams, they're significantly younger. You're probably looking at half that age. Which of those two is closest to being a very regular cinema goer, well, it's obviously going to be the younger end of the audience, but they have less influence in what needs to happen.
I'm curious, how is the relationship typically between distributors and cinemas? Like, do you find that the relationship there is close, or that there's maybe a bit of a disconnect between how cinemas and distributors report on films and they share the insights between each other?
They're opposites at times. They can be the worst of enemies when often they should be the best of friends. And I say the worst of enemies, that's, you know, quite an extreme way of looking at things. But I would say that they are, you know, North and South Pole often more than they are on the same equator and talking about the same things. And it's just down to the fact that, you know, they want different things out of the experience, either at a studio level, or an international level, or even a country level. You know, if we look at a movie distributor in a single market, they have to report back to their chiefs at the studio, either at a regional or global level on a frequent basis. And the data that they have to provide back is, well, I've managed to book the cinema across all of these locations. I've managed to get all of these show times locked in. So I've managed to buy the broadest footprint that I can, or I've managed to negotiate the broadest footprint that I can. And then the marketing team can step in and say, we also have the broadest marketing campaign that's going to reach, you know, these different audiences, either a core audience or a persuadable audience, or different audience layers nationally. So they're talking a really, really big kind of national game. And then the P&L of how a studio works is, right, well, you've locked in that distribution footprint, you've spent your marketing dollars, and then you get to opening weekend and it performs, and either it performs well or it doesn't perform well. But you have to report back your P&L. You have to report back, right, now that I've opened, what's my forecast for the longer run, for the lifetime of that film? So is it a movie that's going to have a long multiple, so multiples of the week from the opening weekend? Is it going to be a long one or a short one, i.e. is the film great or not so great? And also, not just a component of that, but what's the competitive environment look like? Are there any holiday weekends coming up? Are we into school holidays that can extend the playability of the film? So they're the kind of things that a distributor is focused in on their P&L. And exhibitors are doing it differently, right? They rarely look at the national picture. Companies like ourselves are pretty good at bridging that gap. We're pretty good at playing back insights about that person that sat in seat 10A and kind of what drove them to buying that ticket, which platform, which ad creative, what actually got them to go and do that. So we can help them navigate those gaps. And I think once you get broadly more players doing that, or more clients leaning in to do that, then there's always going to be a higher degree of sophistication, more learning agendas. Obviously, Don, we do quite a lot of learning agendas with our clients, that we can help them move away from emotionally talking about an ad, a set of ads that, oh, I really like this set of ads for the following reasons. Either it really speaks to the film and it really sells that key character or that moment in the film. Great. Well, we can actually play back. Did it actually drive engagement on a platform? Did it have any cut through? Did it actually then sell a ticket? And if we can put data behind what have traditionally been emotional responses, then all marketers, of course, they want to have that emotion, but emotion with a data set to show them what works and what doesn't work. I think that's the thing. And also for the exhibitors, they also want to know, great, well, I want to make sure that my occupancy rates in my cinemas are high. What are the things that I can do? What are the tweaks that I can do to make sure that we're running at 60, 70% of occupancy versus 50% of occupancy? So I think they all want different things. There are solutions that we can help navigate with them. There's probably, I would say right now, there's a bigger appetite from exhibition. And I think it's important that distributors jump into that same world of, all right, great, let's try and really challenge ourselves, and what's our retail strategy here?
Obviously, you've been doing digital marketing for decades now. And I know this is a bit of a difficult question, but I am curious, where do you see digital marketing 10 years from now? And I know, there's always been doom and gloom about cinemas, but they've survived, through thick and thin. So do you think there'll still be a major focus?
Oh, wow. That is, this is aging me now, Dom. Because you asked me to look 10 years into the future. Instantly, what I'm going to do is look 10 years into the past, right? So I'll think about the movies that I worked on in 2013, and what were the things that were profoundly important to the movie marketing process in 2013. And sort of to answer the question, like 2013, we were buying big TV spots. We were buying the Champions League final. We were buying, there were lots of very old, they feel like old formats of television now, like, Britain's Got Talent, MasterChef in Australia, any of those big TV shows. We were making sure that we had 30-second spots at the very start of our campaign deployed into those big TV moments. Rolling it forward to 2033, which sounds incredible as a number. What do I think's going to be? Where do I think digital marketing will be? And what do I think will cinemas still be as important? I think that fundamentally, that by the time we get to 2033, the transaction for somebody to go and see a movie in a cinema will be so quick, so elegant, that you will see, whatever the advertising will always drive, the majority of eyeballs. I'm sure there'll be fanship groups built out there, but there's still advertising will play a big role. So I can see that from seeing an ad to booking a ticket will be a blink of an eye to a degree. It will be such a quick experience, and you will be able to transact and connect with your friends and group book for friends. There's probably going to be some way that, often the thing that stops people booking cinema tickets is, I've just got to check if everybody's available that night, and and then I'll buy my ticket, or do I buy it for everybody? There's going to be very different technologies or very different, and I think transactional technologies that already, when you're trying to organize a night out with friends, there's doodles and other social things that you try and find. I think people will just fill out their social calendars a lot quicker to say, I'm free this night, and allow friends to say, great, I saw you were free Tuesday, so I've actually group booked us tickets. You've already added your credit card to this app, so you're going to get your ticket sent to you, and we've picked the same seats we always pick, or I know that you prefer those seats. So I think those transactional sides will be super quick and super fast. And then talking about the movie going experience, quality is always going to stand out, right? It's, if you think about why cinema always, has existed for over 100 years and will continue to exist, is it's an incredible human experience. So I think it's always going to succeed.
I have to ask now, on a bit of a lighter note, I know you're a big film buff. What is a film, or at least one of the films that got you hooked into cinema and really, I guess, shaped your career? If you can name even one. Well,
there's always a film, right, that gets you from the early days. For me, it was a film that was from the 80s, I think 1985, The Goonies. Phenomenal film. For me, as a kid in 85, I just love the whole themes of it. All of those themes. The tagline, Goonies Never Die, as well. It was a tagline that I used with my team when I worked for a media agency, because we had a really challenging client, and we just had this motto that Goonies never die. It was all about resilience, and the Goonies, it meant a lot to me then, and it means a lot to me now. Very cool film.
So it's the perfect choice and the perfect film to end off this conversation with. Neil, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more very soon, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, and look forward to hearing the next podcast. Thanks, Dom.
So Neil will be conducting presentations at different film conventions around the world. So for those interested in learning more about upcoming events that Gruvi will be attending, please follow us on LinkedIn, or if you just wish to get in touch, feel free to shoot us a message. So that's all for us this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Cinema Sit Down.